Imagine waking up tomorrow with $10 million in your bank account. Sounds like every problem in your life would disappear. But here's the part nobody talks about. Thousands of people have already lived that dream. Professional athletes, lottery winners, celebrities, and many of them ended up broke. Not because they didn't have money, but because money only magnifies the person you already are. If your habits are weak, more money simply makes your mistakes more expensive. Today, you're not going to learn how the rich make money. You're going to learn something far more valuable. How they make money stay. Picture two strangers. Both receive exactly $100,000 on the same morning. The first celebrates immediately. A luxury car, designer clothes, weekend vacations. By the end of the year, almost every dollar is gone. The second person does something strange. They buy almost nothing. Instead, they buy pieces of businesses. They learn new skills. They build new income. 5 years later, the first person has memories. The second has freedom. Same money, completely different ending. So what changed? Not the amount, the mindset. A psychologist once asked a simple question. What happens when you turn up the volume on a speaker? The answer is obvious. It doesn't create a new song. It only makes the existing one louder. Money works the same way. If you're disciplined with $100, you'll probably be disciplined with $100,000. If you're careless with $100, more money doesn't fix the problem. It simply gives your bad habits a bigger budget. Think back to the last time you bought something you were convinced would make you happy. Maybe it was the newest phone, a pair of expensive shoes, or something you had been thinking about for weeks. Remember that excitement? Now ask yourself, how long did it actually last? A few days? Maybe a week? Then your brain quietly adjusted and started searching for the next thing. That's the trap. The brain gets used to almost everything, but it never gets tired of wanting more. Now imagine life as a giant garden. Most people spend every season picking fruit. The wealthy spend their seasons planting trees. Picking fruit feels rewarding today. Planting trees feels slow. But one day, the person who planted patiently no longer has to search for fruit because the garden feeds them. That's exactly how wealth works. Here's the first lesson the wealthy understand. Money is never the foundation. Character is. Discipline is. Patience is. The size of your bank account is often just a reflection of the decisions nobody else ever sees. And before you can grow your money, you have to change the person holding it. Because the next lesson reveals the habit that quietly separates future millionaires from everyone else, long before they ever become rich. Imagine two people getting the exact same paycheck on Friday afternoon. By Sunday night, one account is almost empty. The other person has already invested part of it. Nothing else is different. Same salary, same city, same opportunities. The only difference is what happened in the first 5 minutes after they got paid. Because wealth isn't built when you spend. It's built the moment you decide who gets paid first. Most people think they're paying their bills. But if you look closely, they're actually paying everyone else's future. The landlord gets paid. The bank gets paid. The phone company gets paid. The streaming services get paid. Everyone gets paid. Except the person who worked for the money. Imagine working all month and being the last person to receive your own paycheck. That's exactly how most people live. Now picture a farmer. Every harvest, he eats every single seed. For one season, life feels great. But the following year, there's nothing left to plant. Saving money works the same way. Every dollar you keep isn't just money. It's a seed. And every seed has the potential to grow into something much bigger than itself. Here's what separates the 1%. They don't save whatever is left after spending. They decide what to save before spending begins. That one habit changes everything. Because every paycheck becomes a choice. One path creates temporary comfort. The other quietly builds permanent freedom. The decision takes only seconds. The consequences can last a lifetime. And in the next lesson, you'll discover why the richest people are obsessed with one resource that's even more valuable than money. Imagine walking into two different factories. The first factory is silent. Nothing moves unless the owner is there. The second factory runs day and night. Machines never stop. Products keep coming out, even while the owner is asleep. Now ask yourself, which factory would you rather own? That's the difference between earning money and building systems that earn money for you. Most people believe they have one job. The wealthy believe every dollar should have a job. Think about it. If your money spends its entire life sitting in your wallet, it's unemployed. But if that same dollar buys an asset, it wakes up, it starts working, and one working dollar can eventually hire another. That's how wealth quietly grows. Here's something almost nobody notices. Poor people ask, how much does this cost? The wealthy ask, will this make money or only take money? That single question changes every purchase. Because suddenly, you're no longer buying things. You're choosing teammates for your financial future. Think of your time like a battery. Every day, you wake up with a full charge. Most people spend every bit of that energy just to survive until tomorrow. The 1% use part of that battery to build something that keeps working after the battery is empty. That's why one person gets older, while another becomes freer. This is the third lesson. The wealthy don't dream about working less. They build lives where their money works more. Because real freedom isn't having millions in the bank. It's waking up knowing your income doesn't disappear the moment you stop working. And in the next lesson, you'll discover why some people earn 6 figures every year, yet never become wealthy. Imagine climbing a mountain. Every step takes you higher. But every few minutes, someone secretly adds another backpack onto your shoulders. At first, you barely notice. Then the climb becomes harder. Soon, you're carrying more weight than progress. That's exactly what happens when your income grows. But your lifestyle grows even faster. Most people celebrate a raise by upgrading their life. A bigger apartment, a newer car, a more expensive phone. It feels like success. But what actually happened? Your paycheck grew, and your expenses raced to catch it. You ran faster, yet somehow stayed in the same place. The wealthy react differently. When more money comes in, they don't ask, what can I buy? They ask, what can I own? One question buys things that lose value. The other buys things that quietly create more value. That tiny change in thinking creates a massive difference in results. Here's a strange truth. Some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet don't look wealthy because they're not trying to impress strangers. They're trying to impress their future. The loudest wallet isn't always the fullest wallet. Real wealth is often invisible until one day it becomes impossible to ignore. This is lesson 4. Your income can change your lifestyle, but only your habits can change your future. The goal isn't to look successful. The goal is to build a life where money becomes your employee, not your master. And in the next lesson, you'll discover the force Albert Einstein reportedly called the 8th wonder of the world, the principle that quietly turns small amounts into extraordinary wealth. Imagine placing a single domino on a table. It looks tiny, harmless. Now imagine placing another domino that's just 50% bigger than the first, then another, and another. By the time you reach the 30th domino, it would be taller than a skyscraper. That's the power of compound growth. Small progress, repeated consistently, eventually creates results your eyes can barely believe. Most people quit right before the magic begins. The first few months feel slow. The first year feels ordinary. Nothing seems to change. But compound growth is like an avalanche. At first, only a few snowflakes move. Then suddenly, the entire mountain starts moving with them. That's why patience is one of the richest habits you can own. Think of every dollar as a tiny worker. One worker can only do so much. But what if that worker hires another? And then those two hire 4 more? Soon, you aren't working for money anymore. Your money is building its own team. That's how the wealthy think. Not in dollars, but in workers. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They judge success too early. They plant a seed, then dig it up every week, just to check if it's growing. The wealthy understand something different. Growth happens underground, long before it becomes visible above the surface. That's why they trust the process, even when they can't yet see the results. This is lesson 5. The greatest financial advantage isn't earning faster. It's staying consistent longer. Because time rewards those who refuse to quit. The wealthy don't chase overnight success. They quietly build something that keeps growing long after everyone else has given up. And in the next lesson, you'll discover the invisible daily habit that silently decides whether your future becomes wealthy or stays exactly the same. Imagine a tiny leak in a water tank. Just one drop. Every few seconds. You ignore it because it seems too small to matter. Days pass. Weeks pass. Eventually, the entire tank is empty. Money disappears the same way. Not through one giant mistake, but through hundreds of tiny ones that feel harmless. Here's something your brain does without asking your permission. It rewards comfort, not progress. Buying something new gives you a quick burst of excitement. Saving money feels invisible. That's why so many people choose pleasure today and accidentally sacrifice freedom tomorrow. The 1% train their minds to enjoy building the future more than escaping the present. Think about a pilot flying across the ocean. If the plane is only 1 degree off course, nobody notices at takeoff. But thousands of miles later, it lands in a completely different country. Your financial habits work exactly the same way. Tiny choices, repeated every day, decide where your life eventually lands. The truth is, your future isn't built by the biggest decision you make this year. It's built by the smallest decision you repeat every day. 1 extra hour learning. 1 unnecessary purchase avoided. 1 investment made instead of delayed. Those moments seem invisible until one day, they become impossible to ignore. This is lesson 6. Your financial future is rarely changed by one dramatic moment. It's shaped by the quiet decisions. Nobody applauds. Choose better habits. Repeat them longer than everyone else. And your results will eventually speak louder than your words. In the next lesson, you'll discover why the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in the stock market. It's much closer than you think. Imagine someone handed you the world's most powerful money-making machine. It could create wealth, solve problems, and open doors that seem impossible today. Would you take care of it? Of course. Here's the surprising truth. You already own that machine. It's the 6 inches between your ears, your mind. And every day, you decide whether it grows stronger or stays exactly the same. Money can disappear overnight. Markets can crash. Businesses can fail. But knowledge travels with you. No one can steal the skill you've mastered. No recession can erase your experience. The wealthy understand this. That's why they collect skills. The same way others collect expensive things. Because skills keep paying long after the purchase is forgotten. Think about a blacksmith. Every swing of the hammer makes the blade a little stronger. Not instantly. Gradually. Your mind works exactly the same way. Every book, every conversation, every mistake, every challenge shapes the person you'll become. And one day, people will call your success talent. They'll never see the thousands of invisible swings that forged it. Most people ask, how much does this course cost? The wealthy ask, who could I become because of this? One question measures today's price. The other measures tomorrow's potential. That's the difference. The rich don't just buy information. They buy transformation. This is lesson 7. The greatest investment you'll ever make is the person you become. Because money follows value, and value follows growth. The more you improve your mind, the more opportunities begin looking for you. And in the next lesson, you'll discover why the people around you quietly influence your wealth more than your paycheck ever will. Imagine putting a single ice cube into a hot oven. No matter how solid it is, it won't stay frozen for long. Now imagine placing that same ice cube inside a freezer. Nothing about the ice cube changed. Only the environment. Your financial habits work the same way. The people around you quietly shape the decisions you make every day. Have you ever noticed? If everyone around you spends without thinking, it starts to feel normal. If everyone complains about money, you slowly begin expecting financial struggle. But if the people around you talk about building, learning, and investing, your standards quietly begin to change. Success is often contagious. So is mediocrity. Think about a seed. Even the strongest seed cannot grow in poisoned soil. It needs sunlight, water, healthy ground. Your goals are no different. A negative environment slowly drains motivation. A positive environment quietly multiplies it. The wealthy don't choose friends based only on fun. They choose relationships that challenge them to grow. People who ask bigger questions, think bigger, dream bigger, because every conversation either expands your future or shrinks it. This is lesson 8. You become more like the people you listen to than the advice you read. Choose conversations that make you think bigger. Choose people who inspire discipline over excuses. Because sometimes, the fastest way to change your financial future is to change the voices that shape your present. And in the next lesson, you'll discover the final mindset that quietly separates the wealthy from everyone else. Imagine walking through 2 different cities. In the first, everyone is shopping, buying, consuming. In the second, people are building, creating, owning. At first glance, both cities look successful, but one spends money, the other creates it. The 1% don't just participate in the economy. They own pieces of it. Here's a question that can change your financial future. Every time you spend money, ask yourself, am I buying a moment or building a machine? A moment feels exciting. A machine keeps producing value. The wealthy don't chase temporary excitement. They quietly collect machines that work for years. Think about a river. Most people scoop water from it every day. The wealthy ask a different question. Where does the river begin? Instead of fighting over the water, they buy the land around the source. That's how owners think. They focus on controlling value, not chasing it. The biggest shift isn't in your bank account. It's in your identity. The day you stop asking, what can I afford? And start asking, what can I build? Everything changes. Because builders create opportunities. Consumers wait for them. This is lesson 9. The wealthiest people don't spend their lives chasing money. They spend their lives creating value. And when you create enough value, money begins chasing you. In the final lesson, you'll discover the one principle that connects every lesson you've learned today and turns financial knowledge into lifelong freedom. So remember the lessons. Pay yourself first. Own more than you consume. Let time multiply your money. Invest in your mind. Choose your environment wisely. Build systems instead of chasing paychecks. These aren't separate ideas. They're gears inside the same machine. And when every gear turns together, wealth stops feeling like luck. It becomes the natural result of how you live. If this video changed the way you think about money, don't let this be another video you forget tomorrow. Become the person who acts, not just the person who watches. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe for more deep lessons on psychology, success, wealth, and self-mastery. And remember, the goal was never to become rich. The goal is to become the kind of person who can create wealth, protect it, and use it to build a life of freedom. I'll see you in the next video.